We are at Lincoln, Alabama, and looky here, we are at the Jacks. Let's get going with trucking and politics.
Take me back to a place where I felt at home. Take me back to a day when we weren't alone. Take me back to an age when the world felt small. Way back before we blew it all.
Welcome back, folks. So today I was wanting to talk about something that has been on my mind for a while. It's I guess trucking and politics related. Is more trucking related than politics, but why, the question is, why are old truck drivers, especially old truck drivers, so grumpy? Why are they so grouchy? Why are they angry? Well, you think you might know the answer to it, but do you really? I think I have a little insight on this because so many people from my family were truck drivers and ex-military too. I think that plays a part in it. I don't know that it's so much about just the trucking part of it. I'm getting older myself. I'm 54. I'm getting on up there. I have a buddy that's almost 60, right at 60. He's not grumpy. There's days that he is, but overall he's not a grumpy person. He and I talk a lot. We relate a lot because we're not old grumpy truck drivers, but we have worked with quite a few that are. And I think a lot of it has to do with the time frame they grew up in. Like my father, he was 40 years old when I was born in 1970, right? And he came from a different era. He came from hard times. I remember him telling a story. I don't think he told the story. I think my grandmother told the story of how she had a daughter that passed away because there was no grocery stores, there was no food, there was nothing. This was way back, I'm talking probably Depression era, 1930s. And her daughter passed away. Her daughter died because they fed her tomatoes. That's all that they could give her because that's all they had. They didn't even have a store to go to. You got to be tough to grow up in something like that, and a lot of people didn't make it, and the ones that did, they carried all that baggage, through their life with them, all the bad memories. Another thing I noticed too, though, especially with my dad, is he knew everyone. We came from a small area, small part of Arkansas, and everybody knew him. He would go to the grocery store, everybody knew him. He would go to Walmart, everybody knew him. It's like people stuck together back then. You almost had to survive that. It was just hard times, rough, hard times. Now it's easy, and people think that it's hard. Just like the Jacks here where I'm at, you just go in there and get something to eat. People don't even think about that stuff. They don't even consider that back then you didn't have those options. It wasn't commercialized like it is now. we gripe because we have to stand in line to get something to eat, right? I mean, back then you could go 2 or 3 days with nothing to eat because there was nothing. So that, that plays a part in it. Plus, there was a lot of wars back then. World War II, Korea, Vietnam. A lot of people died. A lot of people had family members that died. That's more baggage to bring with you. So I'm not trying to be depressive with this video. That's not what I'm trying to do. I'm just trying to explain it, and understand have younger guys understand. One of the reasons I brought this up was I was so irritated Friday when I come in because the subscriber, I mean, he really torqued me. I mean, he made me angry. And you can watch my last video if you want to know what that's all about. It's a little long in the tooth video, but that's what that one was about. And that's another thing that brings up these truck drivers, especially old truck drivers. They used to get out on the back lot, and drink whiskey, vodka, beer, whatever. They didn't have cell phones. They didn't have paper. They had paper logs, no e-logs, no way to track them. They could pull over wherever they wanted to and stay for however long they wanted to. The only connection between them and the company was a payphone. They was, well, I just won't call in. I'll hang out here today. I won't call in. How's the company going to make you work if you don't want to? Well, nowadays, if those old mindset drivers transferred into nowadays, I got the tail end of it whenever I got into trucking. Cell phones, e-logs, GPSs, all that stuff was just starting to come about. All the people before me, and I'm only 54, so 60 to 70 range, those guys that are still out driving, still alive. There's a bunch of drivers out there that's still alive that was in that era, and still very healthy. They probably don't like the new ways of doing things. They don't like that. I mean, even company drivers had a lot of independence back then, right? So I just I wanted to explain it, not really validate their anger and everything, but give their side of it, because you hear so much, like a YouTuber I saw the other day. I'm not going to mention his name. He's a very good guy. I really like his channel. But he was talking about some driver, he's assuming it was some driver, had commented on his page and said something to the nature of, well, you're just a young steering wheel holder. You don't understand how it was back then. You don't understand the ways that we did back then. That's why you have so much trouble comprehending and everything, right? So there's that. And then he said, well, I don't have to put up with that negativity in my life. I'll just click block and delete and he's gone, and I don't have to worry about him. I don't choose to do that with my channel, even though some people irritate me, like this one subscriber super irritated me because the stuff he was saying, in my opinion, was false. I mean, it was very, very misleading. That's my opinion about it. But these angered truck drivers, staying on subject here, these angered truck drivers, you got to think too, and I wrote somewhat of a list here of stuff to think about, because if you're watching this and you're a younger truck driver, you stay with it like me, you're probably going to experience this stuff. Heads up, the old grumpy truck driver might be you. So one thing is, you got to think your body breaks down. It gets old. It gets to where you don't want to get up in the morning. You sound like a box of Rice Krispies. You know, with me, I had that really severe car wreck in 2007. I almost broke my back. Had to have spinal surgery. How do you think I feel? I mean, I'm not an old grumpy truck driver, but there's days I don't want to get out of bed. It hurts. Especially if I get to working on the weekend, mowing the yard, raking, burning stuff, you know, leaves and sticks, cutting wood up and stuff around the house. I wear myself out on the weekends, and then I have to come back to work, you know, and try to run 2,800 miles a week. It hurts, and you get grumpy. I try not to get grumpy. My wife says I'm actually getting better as I get older instead of worse. Hopefully she's right, because she said I was a pain whenever we first got together 14 years ago. Sorry for that. I don't really want to be that way, but I guess I was. Another thing, you know, all of this has to do a lot. The rest of this, I guess, has to do with baggage. The next three things is baggage. What people call baggage. Stuff that has happened to you in the past that you just don't want to or can't let go of. You know, whatever. Poor life choices. Maybe, you know, something happened and a brother got killed, a sister got killed, a family member died from some illness that maybe you thought you could have helped them with. That's just people in general. But when you get out on the truck, that stuff just sits there and festers in your head. And you sit there and constantly think about it, overanalyze it. That's something this YouTuber said as well about the old grumpy guy. He brought that up, that you just have so much time that you sit there and dwell on stuff and overthink. You know, you make a bigger issue out of something than what it actually was. And really the only person that it really affects is you. But then you take it out on others. You know what I'm saying? Maybe like debt, helping family. This is one I could totally see, because I have a nephew that's just an absolute piece of crap person. And maybe I shouldn't talk about him like that, but man, he destroyed my house. He wrecked my car, and then he turned around and stole my truck. My own nephew did this stuff. You know, he stole items out of my house that my dad had left there, or my dad had left in his house that I had in my house. That stuff can't be replaced, ever. It didn't have really any monetary value, but sentimental value. Thank God he didn't get my dad's wings. Those mean a lot to me. My dad was an airman in the Navy. Thank God I still have those. He didn't find those. And he probably would have stole those. And see, stuff like that you carried along with you. You know, I remember the stuff that he took of my dad's, and I have memories of it, but it's gone. You know, you bring that stuff with you. I try not to be angry about it to others. I'm angry towards my nephew because he's the specific reason for it. Other people can't distinguish between the people that do it and just general public. They just want to, you know, vent and get it out. And whoever's in front of them, you know, is the whipping post, as they say. Maybe they had a bad wife, you know. Well, what was that Garth Brooks song? Daddy loved Mama and Mama loved men, or however that song went. Yeah, I know you probably have heard all the stories about the old cab over drivers. You know, the joke going around is, you know, if your daddy drove one of these, you probably have siblings you don't know about. Well, what about Mama? You know. If Daddy found out about Mama whenever he was out on the road, you know, they divorced, he's carrying that right along with them, you know. It's kind of a funny thing, but then again, it's very serious. That hurts, you know, to get your heart broken like that, and then you have to get out on the truck and drive 3,000 miles away. Hurts. one thing that I don't think a lot of people think about is because Obama destroyed our healthcare system. It used to be where you could just go down and buy health insurance. Like with me, I live in Arkansas, right? You could go to Arkansas Blue Cross and Blue Shield, or call them up, or go on their website and say, hey, you know, I want health care coverage. And it was cheap. You know, my son just took over his health care insurance I'd had on him since he was like 3 years old. His rate right now is like $180 or $200 a month, because that plan was grandfathered in. We kept it so long. And you know, and he took over his health insurance. So where are you going to get $200 a month health care insurance without working somewhere that provides it? You're not going to get it through Obamacare. Obama destructive care is what I would call it. I already talked about family members and stuff. What about this one is really sad, because I actually met a guy like this. You don't have anything to go home to. You just don't have anything to go home to. I talked to a guy out in Iowa 80 at the Iowa 80 truck stop, the big one out there. I was in the laundry room washing my clothes. I got stranded out over the weekend up there. He come in. We got to talking, and if I remember right, his daughter died. His mom died first, and then his daughter died, and then his wife died. And he had one other child that didn't want to speak to him, didn't want to have anything to do with him. Sweet guy. I'm not saying that in a gay way or homosexual way or whatever. I'm just saying he was a really nice old man. I mean, very, very cordial. Nothing grumpy about him whatsoever. He took it in stride, but you could tell it pulled on his heartstrings when he was telling it too, because he just said, I don't have anything but my puppy, just my puppy and me. And I said, well, what is your plans? I mean, you're older. He was like 70. What's your plans? Don't have any. I just take it day by day. Can you see now how somebody would take that, you know, and turn it into anger? He doesn't. And probably a lot of you probably don't like hearing about this because it's controversial, as they say, but he probably has a very strong faith base. And that's why, you know, because he knows it's just a shell of a body, and he will go on. And you can think what you want. I'm not going to preach at you, but that's probably why he is so secure and he didn't turn to anger. That's something I would suggest to you. I'm not going to harp on it and preach on it or anything, but that's something I would suggest to you. If you have the old grumps, you know, you can't get over the old grumps, you know, pick up the good book and read it for a while. It's a very good cure for the old grumps. Another thing's mental issues. Whoop, hit my mic there. Sorry about that. Mental issues. And you think, well, why would you want a driver having mental issues? What about someone that has anxiety when they are around a group of people? Like, can you imagine someone that has that type of anxiety that works in fast food where there's a lot of people in a rush environment, or a retail environment like I used to, where we had, I think our counters back then, this was the early to mid 90s, and I think our counters said like 800 to 1,200 people a day, and you could expect double and triple that over Thanksgiving and Christmas. If you have a person that has anxiety and social issues, they don't want to be around that. They would rather be out on a truck on Thanksgiving Day by themselves. Bingo. Be in a truck by yourself, you know. that could cause the grumps, though. You separate yourself so much from society, you know, there you go. And the last one, pardon me for my language on this, but I don't know how else to explain it. This was a family member. I'm not going to go into detail with it, but it was a family member of mine. Sometimes guys don't have the grumps. Sometimes they don't have baggage. Sometimes it's none of this stuff whatsoever. It's just the fact that they're assholes. I had a family member like that. You know, I heard him do this 2 or 3 times to waitresses. He always liked to go in and sit down at a restaurant to eat. One time this waitress, young girl, she was busy running back and forth and back and forth, and she kept saying, as soon as I get a break, I'll take your order. As soon as I get a break, I'll take your order. I'll be right there. Please just hang on. I'm really busy. And then she finally come running over and took a deep breath, you know. Finally, I got a break here. What can I get you? I just want you to know I am so sorry. And he just looked at her and said, I know. And she just stopped and said, you know what? And he said, that you're sorry? Oh, I just wanted to crawl under the table. I mean, I was like, you jerk. What are you doing that for? He was just an asshole, and he really liked getting under people's skin. If he irritated people, or he made them mad, or he upset them, or hurt their feelings, it put a smile on his face. He liked it. Weird, I know. Anyway, I guess the moral of the story is, think about this. If you get through this video, think about this. Think about what all people have been through. Maybe kill them with kindness. You know, when I was younger, I didn't have any patience for people. I wouldn't listen to them. Wouldn't give them the time of day. Now that I'm older, you know, things are slowing down. I understand things are slowing down for me, and it seems like the clock is racing faster. You want things to slow down. So you take a slower approach of talking to people. I'm not asking you to do that, but maybe understand a little bit more. Give somebody a little courtesy check every now and then. I overcame the grumps. I know how I overcame it. I've already stated it. I started reading the book. And I'm not going to pressure you into reading it, but that's how it helped me. I mean, whatever works for you. And if you're grumpy, if you're one of these old grumpy old men, don't be grumpy. You make other people's lives miserable. Smile every once in a while. You know, it won't hurt you. I promise it won't. It might hurt a wrinkle here to bend it the other way. Thanks for watching, folks.